Now, normally, I'm typically a very optimistic guy. I'm very positive. Honestly, I really am. And I've been through so much in my life, as I'm sure a lot of you have as well, that have made things that have made me stronger, smarter, wiser, all these kinds of things. And, I've been through my negative phases, and now I'm in a situation where, realistically, I tend to have a pretty positive outlook on everything, except for one very important thing. At least that one very important thing is important here in Montreal and a little all over the world. But those guys, right here, the Montreal Canadiens. It's really tough being a Habs fan these days. It really is. And I know I'm not alone in sharing those thoughts. And you know what? I'll just leave Skype up there. That's the username right over there. So if you guys want to call in and share your thoughts, and you're tired of listening to the same old white males talking about the Canadians, and you're tired of listening to people on a certain station, a radio station that's very popular here in Montreal, talking all kinds of negative stuff, and at the same time, belittling and degrading their callers and people who are trying to get their thoughts out there. This is who you want to call. You want to call StoneOnSports. I have no idea where to begin. Honestly, I really don't have a clue as to where I should begin, because right now there is absolutely nothing about the Montreal Canadiens that's giving me, a Habs fan, or somebody who used to be a bit of a Habs fan, and we'll get into that in due time, but there is nothing about this team that's encouraging. I don't know if it's just me, but the best player on this team, Carey Price, is not playing like the best player on this team, and therefore, the team sucks. Plain and simple. It is not a good team. There is no hope for this team to win the Stanley Cup this year, by the way. I know there are a lot of crazy Habs fans out there who, live and die by this team, and a lot of fans who think, maybe one or two changes to this team are going to make this team better. It might make it marginally better. But one or two players and using that $8.5 million or $9 million in cap space, or whatever the hell that number is not going to help this team. You see, here's what I believe personally, and a lot of people might not agree with me, and I might lose a couple of followers. Hell, I might gain a couple of followers, but there's something inherently wrong with this team. If last year, the 2016 and 2017 regular season, or just the 2016-2017 season, if they could not pull off a Stanley Cup win, then that's it. Right? Think about it. They had Markov, right? They had Weber. Now, I'm not going to get into PK Subban and Shea Weber. Okay, I know, fans miss the electricity that PK Subban brought, but all things considered, Shea Weber's a very, very good defenseman. He's one of the best in the league, hands down, and anybody who says anything differently is just gravely mistaken, okay? Fucking, advanced statistics be damned, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. He's a good defenseman. He is. Markov, they had Beaulieu, who all of the potential in the world, never really lived up to it. Not really doing so well in Buffalo either right now, but nonetheless, that's a mobile, puck-moving defenseman with a lot of offensive upside. But I don't need to remind you guys. You guys already know that, right? They had Alexei Emelin, bone-crushing defenseman. They had Alex Radulov, who, honest to God, was just so... I call PK Subban electrifying. Man, Alex Radulov was meant for this market. He was meant for the Montreal market. He really was. And, funny enough, they couldn't get it done. They had Alex Galchenyuk, who I believe last year started the year off as the number one center, and that didn't really pan out. He was top 10 in the league before his first knee injury, came back. Confidence was, in the shitter. Re-aggravated his knee injury, was out again, came back, and was a disaster ever since, right? Everyone remembers that. But at the top of his game, Alex Galchenyuk is a dominant player in this league. I don't care what people think with regards to that. He is. Now, this guy has the potential to score 30, 35, maybe even 40 goals. But his confidence is down the drain, and he's being so poorly utilized that we'll never... I don't think here in Montreal we'll get to see him flourish as a Canadiens player. I don't think. They had Radulov, they had Pacioretty, who was on fire, and everyone was talking shit about Pacioretty last year. That's why I have his poster right over here. Why? Because I respect the shit out of that guy. Not just as a captain, as a leader, as a player, the guy who can get you almost 40 goals a year, and yet people still find a way to shit on him. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, is this... I was going to say, is this a joke? But I don't want to sound like, big burly man that you guys might know and might have heard on the radio a couple of times. But seriously, people want to shit on this guy. Everything he does, he goes to the front of the net. Not all his goals are scored in an empty net, okay? He lays the body out. He's starting to, at least this year. His confidence is also down as well, because these guys know, they're aware, they're fully aware that this is a team that could have had it all last year, but sadly it would not be. And I don't want to point fingers at Marc Bergevin, because I like him as a general manager. Overall, I have a tendency to like Marc Bergevin as a general manager, or maybe I just find him charming when he's up, giving his press conferences and talking to members of the media, who, by the way, ask the stupidest fucking questions I've ever heard in my life. And this is live, it's unfiltered. I'm not going to beat around the bush when it comes to that. That's the truth. They ask the dumbest fucking... I think I saw on Twitter earlier, and you know what? Let's go take a look over here. Somebody on Twitter was saying to me, or was saying that... okay, 1 second over here. Let's just set this up. Somebody was saying that Carey Price asked... Somebody asked Carey Price if his equipment was an issue. I wish I knew how to make that camera zoom into my face right now. Are you fucking serious? You're asking him if it's an equipment issue? You don't think Carey Price has played long enough with all kinds of different... It was CCM and Vaughn and whatever the fuck, Reebok, and he's tried them all. You really think that's the problem? No, that's not the problem. The problem with Carey Price, my dear friends and listeners and viewers and anybody who's ever heard the name Carey Price, the problem with Carey Price is that he's injury prone. Yeah, he's injury prone. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, he is. And you know something? He's kind of always been injury prone. And the fact that people keep crashing into him and nobody really stands up for him, that hasn't changed, by the way. That hasn't changed. What I'm seeing more of, and I guess this is a good thing, but not really, I see the Canadiens crashing the net a little more frequently this year. They're crashing their opponent's net, of course, they're the other goalies. And, that's kind of positive, given that, people or their opponents have been doing it to Carey Price for so long and so often, and no one stood up for him. But anyway, 2014 Eastern Conference Finals, you guys remember, right? Chris Kreider, who apparently is supposed to fucking come over here on a trade for Alex Galchenyuk. Are you fucking kidding me? Come on. Like, we're comparing apples and oranges here. Seriously, you're trying to tell me that Chris Kreider is of the same caliber as Alex Galchenyuk? You're trying to tell me that in terms of fair trade value right now, Alex Galchenyuk is the equivalent to Chris Kreider? Fuck off. Come on. I don't know who started that. I really don't know who started that. But I find it dumb as hell. And I'm assuming a lot of people find that dumb as hell as well. Because really, this organization, they're so secretive, and they don't let anybody in on anything that's going on. That's the truth. Nobody ever really knows what's happening with this organization. Don't believe the rumors. Don't believe the rumors on hockeybuzz.com or or you know, people from Sportsnet, or even people from TSN or RDS, or even Renaud Lavoie or whatever. Like, don't believe anybody when they talk about rumors. Believe them when they're saying, right now, what we're hearing is that in a couple of minutes or in about an hour or two, this player is getting called up from the Laval Rocket, or this player is being sent down, or this player is being waived. Believe that stuff. But don't believe anything you hear when it comes to trades or negotiations or discussions or any of that kind of stuff. Okay? So Chris Kreider for Alex Galchenyuk, yeah, thank you, but no thank you. I'd rather stick to Galchenyuk and keep him here as a part of this core, the core of this team that needs to rebuild. And I'll explain why. Actually, no, they can't rebuild right now because they're fucked for the next 9 years. Think about it. 2014 Eastern Conference Finals, Montreal Canadiens are up against the New York Rangers. They're getting outstanding goaltending from Carey Price until Chris Kreider accidentally crashes into Price, takes out his knee. We don't know till this day whether Carey Price had surgery or not. But 2015, so then the following year in 2014 and 2015, they make it to the playoffs. They get eliminated by the Tampa Bay Lightning, if I recall correctly. They get eliminated by the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I believe in the second round after sweeping the Ottawa Senators. Correct me if I'm mistaken here. I'm not looking at this stuff right now. And then on top of that, Price is injured. And, oh no, he's not injured. But he later claims in an interview, he tells somebody, well, yeah, I was playing injured. Okay, we're assuming it's a lower body injury. I'm assuming it's not a broken pinky here. Okay, I'm assuming it's not, you know, a dislocated shoulder, which can happen. Don't get me wrong, it really can, and understandably so. If a goalie makes a save and falls on his arm, and you know all his weight comes crashing onto that joint, that ball joint, well, guess what? You know that leads to a dislocation. I doubt it was a dislocated shoulder, because chances are they would have just fixed it up and sent him on his way 6 to 8 weeks max of rehab, and he's good to go. No, I think it's the same knee that got injured in that Chris Kreider incident. I think it just kept reoccurring, and I think every once in a while he still has that problem, because in 2015, 2016, he makes one movement, his knee gives out. I believe, man, he can't catch a break against this team. I don't know if it was the Columbus Blue Jackets or if it was once again against the New York Rangers, but he hurt himself twice in 2015, 2016. And on January 27th of 2016, I penned an article for HockeyBuzz.com where I said, look, and I said this before any fucking insiders or whatever the fuck you want to call them said it, but I said Carey Price is going to earn $10 million or more, regardless of which team he plays for. So thank you, but no thank you. Trade him. Trade him while his value is high. That was after he had won 5 individual trophies, 4 in the National Hockey League, and that Canadian Male Athlete of the Year as well. Imagine that. And then you have to think, like, from a business perspective, what is it? Buy low, sell high, or some shit like that. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know. But what I do know is that when a player, when a team is not headed in the right direction as an organization, as a franchise, and you have an asset that's worth quite a lot, you need to pull the trigger. But alas, he did it. And by he, I mean Marc Bergevin, the general manager, did not pull the trigger on a Carey Price trade, because I sincerely believe that Marc Bergevin sincerely believed that that team was on its way to becoming a Stanley Cup contender. And truth be told, I think it was. I really do. I really think it was on its way to becoming a Cup contender, because, yeah, they had a couple of really good regular seasons. Even last year, you know, they finished first, I think, in the Atlantic Division with 103 points. I mean, that's pretty good considering they had a coaching change on February 14th. By the way, a day right after I said it's time to fire Michel Therrien. I'm not saying Marc Bergevin heard me or Jeff Molson heard me, you know, but I wrote it. It's there. People told me to shut the fuck up, and they said a whole bunch of racist shit, and then the very next morning it's like, oh, well, you know, ciao Michel Therrien. Just saying. Yeah, I like to brag sometimes, you know, and that's the truth, because, you know, when you're right about certain things, I've read several times that you have to keep quiet. So say nothing when you're right, and when you lose, say even less. But what's less than nothing? I don't fucking know. That's why I don't always believe everything that I read on the internet. But what I will tell you is that sometimes when you're right, you kind of have to remind people that you're right. Why? Because it's a matter of credibility. So Carey Price does not get traded, and then guess what? About a year later, everyone starts talking about how much can Carey Price start earning, right? That same year. So a couple of 10, 11 months later, guys like Pierre LeBrun, I think, and Eric Engels, and started talking about, hey, Carey Price, he deserves $10 million or more. Yeah. And then everybody started talking about Carey Price earning $10 million or more. Well, guess what he did? July 2nd, 2017, this past summer, he signs, he signs a contract, an extension that kicks in next year, worth $84 million over 8 years. Oh boy, they're going to regret that. They are going to regret that, let me tell you, because you know something? This is a kind of team that I don't want to say needs to rebuild. I think they're in the process of rebuilding right now. But if that were the case, why the fuck didn't they trade Carey Price in the first place? I don't get it. I don't want to dwell on that. Because right now, Carey Price is untradeable. He's playing like crap. Okay, let's just be honest. He's not playing well for a multitude of reasons. I guarantee, and I don't want to speculate. I don't want to think about why or why not or what's going on. Is it confidence? Is it injuries? Whatever it may be. Don't care about that stuff. All I know is that he's not, as we say in Quebec, il livre pas la marchandise, right? That's what we say. Il est pas en train de livrer la marchandise, okay? I know, I get it. But if you have Carey Price not being your best player, as I alluded to a couple of minutes ago, if Carey Price is not your best player, and then Pacioretty is getting shit on left, right, and center by all the members of the media and all the fans and everybody and their grandmother. But people have a fucking really short memory, and they don't stop to think that, he's one of the streakiest scorers and one of the best scorers in the last 5 years. Yeah, he's going to get affected because no matter what a player tells you, guess what? They pay attention to all this stuff. That's the truth. Alex Galchenyuk was drafted to be the number one center that this team has been lacking for 20 plus years. And then where do they put him? On the fourth line. He's playing well defensively. I asked Andrew Berkshire of Sportlogic and Sportsnet and RDS, and he's an analytics guru. When you think advanced statistics, besides my buddy Andrew Sarazin at SidAnalytics.com, right? It's still fresh, it's still a baby, so there's a lot that's happening with them, and just keep your eyes on them, okay? But when it comes to Andrew Berkshire and advanced stats and all these kinds of things, that's the kind of person that you can rely on. I asked him where are all these stats for like takeaways and recoveries and all that kind of stuff, or like positioning and the defensive zone and all that kind of stuff. And he told me it's not available to the public. Go figure, right? Because honestly, Alex Galchenyuk is having a very good defensive season. Pay attention to him. Seriously. Pay extra attention to him while he's on the ice. His back checking is phenomenal. I'm telling you, sorry, I keep looking over at my iPad over here because my tech dude and camera guy and video, I'm by myself right now, it's live from my place, but he keeps sending me tips and tricks, like technical stuff, like, hey, if you want to zoom in, what you do is this and that, so I kind of get distracted a little bit. I do apologize, but his name's Alexander Gaipo, and he is the fucking best, which, by the way, side note, that right there, right, UFC. Yeah, we did our UFC 217 preview in English and in French with my boy Adam Dax, so go check it out whenever you get a chance. I'll put the link in my bio and or whatever in the description. I'm doing great. A week and a half, I think we posted it, over 200 hits, which I'm very happy about because we only have 35 subscribers or something. So, anywho, yeah, check it out, English and in French. We preview all 3 championship bouts, so there's that. Now, when it comes to Pacioretty, I talked about that. Galchenyuk is playing very well defensively. I'm disappointed in how Thomas Plekanec is playing because I really thought he was going to have a good year. Again, this is another example of somebody that I said you need to trade, right? You need to put this guy out there. Right before he signed his contract, his value was at the highest. He scored like 64, 65 points that year. I said, trade him. His value is high. Nobody listened, of course, and we're stuck with another albatross contract. At least it expires at the end of this year. And truth be told, Thomas Plekanec has always been my favorite player. Now, it really has, because I really like this two-way game. Smart, intelligent two-way game, two-way player, playmaking machine, creative, excellent passer, but we don't see that anymore. He had a wrist injury last year, so I said, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm pretty sure this year he'll be able to do something worthwhile, and, well, unfortunately, that's not the case. This is ginger ale, by the way, kids. Just putting it out there. All right, let's look at some of the stats here. Okay, let's go see how our boys are doing, the Canadiens stats, because honestly, it's shameful, and it kind of makes me think. Somebody like Artturi Lehkonen, for instance, right? Everyone is always singing Artturi Lehkonen's praises. I personally think he's kind of overrated. I really do, because if you want to sing the praises of players that make a fucking difference in a game, you want to look at guys who provide goals. Isn't that what he's there for? I get it. He's up there. I think he's got 3 goals. I'm gonna go check it out right now. Bear with me. Probably should have prepared this before, but whatever. Gives a shit. This is live, and I got pissed off, and I said, you know what? Let's go do this. By the way, just a reminder, the Skype is there at the bottom, so if there's anything you guys want to talk about, don't be shy. Give me a call. StoneOnSports, capital SOS. SOS. This is exactly what this Habs team needs. They need an SOS. They need to be rescued, because right now, it ain't happening. All right. Let's look over here. 13 games played. The Habs are 4-8-1. Oof. No bueno. No bueno. No es bueno, man. Gotta tell you. All right, here. Let me boot this up. All right, give me a second. Oh, there we go. That was easy, eh? You guys see that? Perfect. Perfect. All right, let's scroll down over here. So Brendan Gallagher is the leading scorer. He's got 6 goals, 4 assists, and 10 points. -2. Meh. Weber is kicking ass, 9 points. Danault is doing pretty well, 9 points and 13. That's great. Jonathan Drouin as well, who, by the way, played a horrendous game against the Minnesota Wild. I don't understand why the Francophone media members, or whatever the fuck you guys want to call them, why aren't they ever calling out the French Canadian players? They never have. When did they ever call out David Desharnais? Seriously. Never. They'll never call out Philippe Danault. They'll never call out Jonathan Drouin. And, man, they already love Charles Hudon, don't they? And I can't blame him. Charles Hudon, he's putting up points, and he's doing okay, and that's fine, but they'll never say a bad word about Galchenyuk. Brace yourselves. Somebody like Max Pacioretty, don't worry. They'll let you know when he's having a bad game, or if he's had one bad shift. They'll blow it the fuck out of proportion. Believe you me. Now, how's our boy Artturi Lehkonen doing? 5 points in 13 games. Okay, if this is really supposed to be like his big, breakthrough year, I'm still waiting to see it, honestly, because he scored 2 goals, I believe, against the Ottawa Senators, who, by the way, had a really shit game, who played like crap that night. So don't try and tell me that, they won fair and square and that they were turning it around. This is not a team that's going to turn it around. They might go on a couple of streaks, admittedly, here and there. They might do that, but truth be told, I don't even know if they'll make it into the playoffs this year. Seriously. And this is not a panic. I'm not panicking here. I'm really not. Let me explain to you something, okay? I started off writing for Hockey Buzz. I entered a contest when Eric Engels left, and I submitted my shit, and people liked it, and I was really proud of it, and I wrote for them for about 2 years. Forget all the racism and all the garbage and discrimination that I had to endure. Trust me, I'm working on a piece that I think you guys are really going to love. Seriously. Because it's fucked up what I went through over there. But that's not the point. I wrote for Hockey Buzz, then I wrote for All Habs, and I was writing for Hockey Feed, and I mostly covered the Detroit Red Wings. So I was earning a full-time living writing about hockey a year and a half into my writing. So my writing couldn't have been that bad, FYI. What happens is when you start becoming a bit of an analyst, if you will, you have to take a step back. You kind of have to look at this team more from an objective standpoint. That's what you kind of have to do. That's the truth. And when you take a step back, your fan side or your fanboy side or whatever you want to call it, or fangirl, or, you know, for whoever, I don't want to leave anybody out here, but that starts to go away. And when that starts to go away, then you become a little more objective. Then you take a couple of steps back, and then you look at this team and you start analyzing it for what it really is. That's why I ever proposed to trade Carey Price. You know, like, obviously I can't say that now, but he's one of the best. From a technical standpoint, he's always been one of the best goalies in the world. He really has been. But if I didn't realize the value of trading Carey Price and, you know, kind of building this thing from scratch again, I would have never said trade him. But anywho, I don't want to dwell on that. I don't want to be known as the guy who said trade Carey Price. I don't. But I think it's important for people to acknowledge that, you know, despite everything, I don't work for RDS or TSN or Sportsnet or any of those kinds of things, or TSN 690, and I don't give a shit, to be honest. And I might never work for these people, and you know what? That's fine by me, because I don't want to be like them anyways. That's the point. I don't want to be like them, and I don't want to become them. You know what I mean? Like Stu Cowan of the Montreal Gazette. That guy blocked me on Twitter. He's the first member of the media to block me on Twitter. And he won't be the last, I guarantee it. But it was just a cool moment for me because, you know, he said one of the dumbest fucking statements that I've ever heard in my life to Claude Julien before Max Pacioretty started putting up a couple of goals. He said, you rely on, like, I mean, if this isn't the most fucking leading question in the world, I don't know what is, okay? He says to him, you rely on Max Pacioretty to provide offense. What do you think is wrong with Max Pacioretty? Seriously, bro? How long have you been in the fucking game, and that's the kind of fucking question that you come up with? You get paid to do this? Can we please get rid of people like Stu Cowan? Just fire them all and bring in fresh blood. Critical thinkers, actual critical thinkers, not people who just, you know, go with the grain. How about people who go against the grain? People who represent millennials or whatever you want to call them. Not these self-entitled pieces of shit. That's not what I'm referring. I'm talking about bringing people who have fresh ideas, who you know, who carve themselves a different path than your typical, I have a bachelor's degree in journalism and I ask only neutral questions. No one fucking cares about that. How many more old white men do you want to hear talk about the Montreal Canadiens? Seriously, aren't you fed up? I am. Man, this ginger ale is mighty good right now after watching the Habs getting whooped fucking 6-3 against the Wild. And they started mounting a comeback. That's the worst part. They started mounting a comeback, and people legitimately thought that they were going to come back and win. No, what happened is Devin Dubnyk, who used to be a Montreal Canadien, by the way, just FYI, stopped giving a shit. He was like, okay, wow, we are really taking it to this team. They were up 5-1. If you're a goaltender, I don't care if you're playing ball hockey with your buddies and you can't run up and down a gym without getting completely gassed and stepping outside for a cigarette. I don't give a shit what level you play at. If you're kicking someone's ass, you're going to take your foot off the pedal a little bit. And that's what Devin Dubnyk did. That's all. 2 goals. He looked kind of ordinary, kind of okay. His teammates didn't help. But it doesn't matter now, right? I'm just curious to know what people actually think this team is going to achieve this year or next year or even the following year. And I really am. I'm very, very curious. I like Claude Julien. I really like Claude Julien. I liked him as a coach when he was with the Boston Bruins. How could you not? I just don't understand what everyone is so optimistic about. Jordy Ben? Carl Alzner? Come on. I mean, Alzner is not, he's maybe not the worst defenseman, honestly. I mean, he still has, let's see here, 4 points and, yeah, never mind. That's Carl Alzner right over here. 0 goals, 4 assists. This is the biggest disappointment right over here. Oops. That right there is probably the biggest disappointment. Jeff Petrie. You guys remember when he was acquired in a trade, the trade deadline, and he came over, and everyone was telling Marc Bergevin, you have to sign this guy. You guys remember that? Yeah, I did too, because I was one of those guys who said you have to re-sign Jeff Petrie, give him whatever money he wants. Ever since then, I feel like he's always playing with an injury that he's not revealing, and it sucks because sometimes he's not that soft as a lot of people claim he is. And sometimes he goes out there and he lays a big hit. No one talks about it though. 1 goal and 2 assists through 13 games. That's not gonna cut it. I mean, Jordy Bennett's pretty surprising, honestly, that he has 3 points. But seriously, this Victor Mete, 2 points. That's good. I mean, you got to give Victor Mete credit. He's doing what he can. But it's kind of sad when a 19-year-old makes the jump from the junior levels to the NHL level and becomes your number 1 defenseman. It's kind of fucked, when you think about it. That's crazy. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to say that Marc Bergevin should be on his way out. I think, obviously he's re-signed for the next 4 years until 2022. And truth be told, he's obviously trying to, rebuild this team. That's the way that I see it. I think he's going to hold on to that money because if he's smart, that's what he's going to do. I think it was a mistake for him to re-sign Carey Price. I think he was kind of, fighting for his job in a lot of ways. But I think he is in the process of rebuilding his team right now. I don't know if Max Pacioretty is going to re-sign. I hope he does. I doubt it. Galchenyuk needs to stick around. Plekanec, thank you for your services, but you got to go. Markov. Oh, man, I said you should trade Markov last year at the trade deadline. For a guy like Henrik Zetterberg. I've talked about that on the podcast. SoundCloud.com/StoneOnSports. I've talked about all of these things. Now, I'm not saying I'm always right. I'm not. But if you know you're going to lose a player for nothing, for the love of God, just trade him. Get whatever you can and stockpile draft picks for the future, because right now, the way things are looking, it is not good. I'm not saying fire Marc Bergevin, even though that's what a lot of people are saying. But you'd have to think that owner Jeff Molson is probably looking at his general manager and thinking, let's put a leash around you now and try to kind of control where that goes. And I went in a million different directions, and I thank you to whoever tuned in. Look, it's not always going to be this negative, I promise you. I didn't even get into why I have Spider-Man or Darth Vader or why I even have these posters up here if I'm shitting on the team so much. But look, it's not an entertaining brand of hockey to watch. It's as simple as that. It's just not entertaining. I've how many thousands of dollars have I put into this team buying their shitty, crappy memorabilia and even the little posters I rip and all that stuff. But I mean, it is what it is, right? You want to at least watch a team lose in style, lose in a way that's entertaining, that draws you in emotionally. And this team just doesn't do it. Man, just ask my girlfriend. She literally passes out every single time the Habs play. It's her favorite pastime because she gets to take a nap. And I get it. Can't say I blame her. Anywho, I think that does it for tonight. Guys, just remember, for Skype, okay, it's Stone on Sports, capital SOS, one word, Stone on Sports. Add me, call me sometime. Honestly, let's have a conversation. Ask me whatever you want about the Canadiens. Ask me whatever you want about UFC or the Premier League and whatever. Seriously, let's have some fun. Let's do shit differently. This is the first episode of Stone on Sports live, but it sure as hell won't be the last. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you guys very soon, all right? Take it easy.